Good evening and welcome to News Channel 8. I'm Jerome Aegean, and here's some of the top stories we have for you tonight. Trouble on the high seas. At least one fisherman is dead. Police make a traffic stop, and you won't believe what they found. And a sliver of soap can make potholes disappear. These stories and more are up next on News Channel 8. In our top story tonight, at least one man is dead after a boating accident near Molasses Pier on St. Croix. 3 men, all from Puerto Rico, who were working the Hovensa turnaround, ran into trouble late yesterday afternoon. News Channel 8's Wes Small files this tragic report.
Very distressing news to report to you this evening. We are here by the Molasses Pier, the South Shore, near Hovensa, behind Hovensa. This is the point where they want the media to stop. What we have is unofficial at this point. I've been talking to Melody Rames, VIPD spokesperson, Deputy Chief Chris Howell. A very bad situation. For the official word from the VIPD, Deputy Police Chief Chris Howell.
What we know right now is last night a pleasure boat went out, launched here from Cross Lagoon. They were a small pleasure boat about 14 feet in length. Apparently they got into some rough seas, and the individuals aboard the boat were thrown overboard, and the engine continued to run. And so the boat began to circle, but of course they weren't able to get back on board. We know that one individual made it to shore from about approximately 3 miles out, and he was able to notify VIPD and Coast Guard of what had happened, and that his 2 friends were still missing at sea. We began a search in cooperation with the United States Coast Guard last night, and unfortunately this morning we did recover the body of one of the individuals who was missing, and we are still continuing to search for the 3rd individual.
So we did have 4 on the boat.
We started with 3. 1 made it to shore. 2 are still missed. 2 were missing. 1 body was recovered of the 2.
Oh, I see. 3 people on board initially, and we have 1 body recovered and 1 made it.
That's correct.
How's the survivor doing?
Obviously very distraught right now. He's very concerned with his missing friend, and of course he's devastated by the loss of one. The family members are here on the scene, and they've remained with us throughout the night in hopes that we would recover them in good health. Unfortunately, we have to report this morning that at least one of those is not going to come back. So
it doesn't look good, of course, for the other.
Well, we don't want to.
Always, you're in a rescue mode right now.
Yeah, we're in rescue mode right now. We're holding on to hope that we will recover him in good health. It isn't an extreme period of time has not elapsed, and certainly we've seen these scenarios where even days elapse and people are able to hold their own until we can get to them, and so we're remaining hopeful right now.
One other thing, I don't know off the top of my head if there was a small craft advisory issued yesterday, but any advice now for future boaters out there?
Well, I think since I've been deputy chief, I've seen 2 of these instances, and both of them happened in boats that people were unfamiliar with. They were new boats to the owners, and this is certainly the case with this. The boat was they had just bought it a couple days before, and they were eager to try the boat out. And when people test out a boat for the first time, they should do it in the best seas available. Although I know people get a new boat and the first thing they want to do is get it out in the water. But the seas were rough for the last couple of days. We had some extreme wind over the last couple of days, and certainly a small boat like that is. And it's being unfamiliar to the owners, we recommend that they wait for the best opportunity possible before they take it out for the first time.
How sad. If you're just joining us once again, we did have 1 survivor that made it to shore yesterday. He swam 3 miles yesterday afternoon, and unfortunately 1 body was recovered, and then we still have someone out there in the water, so we're all praying for them. Deputy Police Chief Howell, VIPD. And back to the studio, Jerome. I'm Wes Small at the Molasses Pier.
The family of the victims will give an exclusive report tomorrow. And in other news, a police officer's weapon has been of great concern for the Virgin Islands Police Department tonight, as it has been under investigation of being used by a civilian to threaten another man's life. 29-year-old Darren Hendrickson of St. Thomas was arrested in the early morning hours of Sunday when police received a tip that Hendrickson was brandishing a service revolver in a public club in Charlotte Amalia, known as the Jala Jala nightclub. In his court appearance on Monday morning before Virgin Islands Superior Court Judge Magistrate Kathleen McKay, the testimony was overheard revealing that Hendrickson came into possession of the gun when he borrowed the car of his girlfriend, Officer Janelle Huggins of the Virgin Islands Police Department. Huggins admitted to her superiors that the weapon had been abandoned in her vehicle that Hendrickson was driving and that she pled with him to secure the weapon. This is the third incident this year where a service revolver is at the center of a case in the Virgin Islands. The judge increased Hendrickson's bail to $30,000 on charges of grand larceny and brandishing and possessing an unlicensed firearm. Hendrickson's arraignment will be heard on March 18th. And staying on St. Thomas, a routine traffic stop turned into a major drug and weapons bust recently. News Channel 8's Lee Carl files this report.
Simple traffic stop here on Centerline Road, and it turns out to be a lot more than that. Criminal charges upheld against a Mitchell Brown, who police said had 2 guns, 464 grams of marijuana, and $27,510 in cash on him when he was stopped for driving a car with illegally tinted windows. The 26-year-old from Anna's Retreat taken into custody Saturday before the Magistrate Judge Kathleen McKay on Monday to be advised of his rights. Now, at that hearing, the officer Gigi Alexander of the Special Ops Bureau testified on the circumstances that led to Brown's arrest. Saturday, according to Alexander, officers were traveling along this Centerline Road when they saw a red Dodge Durango with heavily tinted windows and no visible license plate. Officers believed the vehicle Brown was driving was the same one police had seen the day before, carrying 4 armed people. We stopped the vehicle in the Pueblo parking lot, asked him for his driver's license, proof of insurance and registration. He told us he bought the vehicle from Tint King, and we told him that this vehicle had 4 occupants the previous day, and all 4 had rifles. So it's according to Alexander. Now, the insurance for the vehicle still in the name of the previous owner. Brown's license had expired, vehicle not registered in his name. The officer safety Alexander said Brown was asked if he had a gun. He said yes. Officers removed the loaded gun from his pants pocket. I asked him if he had a license for the gun. He said no. Asked him if he had any other guns. He said yes, in the car. Brown taken into custody, vehicle impounded. It's in the Sally Port now here in St. Thomas. Vehicles then towed away, and during the search, officers confiscated another fully loaded gun from under the front driver's seat and 464 grams, 25 dime bags, and 4 medium-sized sandwich bags of a substance field tested positively as marijuana, and $27,510 in cash. In St. Thomas, Lee Carl for News Channel 8.
Thanks, Lee Carl. And how does a sliver of soap save potholes? We'll find out next.